Hey, what's going on? How are you? How's everybody doing? Good to be back for this impromptu stream, more or less. I just thought I would take a few minutes and say hi. It's been a while since I've been able to pop on, or it's been a while since Jay and I have been able to pop on and talk about all the different things that are going on. And with the announcement that the Jay and Rob Toy Show is finally getting a premiere, and we've got it locked in for season 2, I thought I would just take handful of minutes just to reach out and say, hey, what's going on and how are you? So, if you are watching this, wherever you're watching this, feel free to throw a comment into the chat. I'll try to get to it and answer it. But I thought we could just go through kind of project by project where things are at and where we hope to be in the coming future. I guess first things first, the Jay and Rob Toy Show season 2 is finally coming, and Jay and I have been busting our butts to get to this point. We got the order to do the Jay and Rob Toy Show, I think mid-July. That season 1 had done well enough at that point. I think it was 6 or 7 episodes into it. And Jinx Esports TV Canada thought, yeah, let's try to do a second season. And what complicated that was we were already in the midst of planning Action Figure Adventure. And it's a lot to juggle when you've got to crank out another season of something like the Jay and Rob Toy Show, which is 10 episodes. And we had to have it delivered by mid-October, early November. Well, actually, October 1st is when they needed it. It slipped a bit because of Action Figure Adventure Season 2. And we'll talk about that soon as well. So getting the order to do Season 2 of the Jay and Rob Toy Show was a blessing and a curse. It was like, well, careful what you wish for. And it was like the best thing that could have happened because it got us galvanized, and we had so much fun doing season 1 of the Jay and Rob Toy Show, which, if you guys have been watching the podcast and the live streams that we had been doing, that started almost a year ago and went until mid-March. I think we did 28 or 26 episodes, and then we did like one here and there a little bit, like once a month kind of deal. Then we did the TV show, the 10 episodes for season 1, which retooled the live stream a little bit and brought a whole bunch of different elements in there, namely cutaways. When we talk about a figure, we show the figure on screen, either just as a still image, or we do some action figure photography, either as video or just a snap, and we put it in there. So season 1, we learned that it takes about 3 months to do 10 episodes all the way through. So the shooting, with Jay and I talking remotely like this, the figure photography, the editing, the post audio mixing, dialogue editing, and then the legal side of it to make sure we're using imagery in the right kind of way. So 3 months. So when we get the call late July that we're going to go forward with season 2, and we know that there's about 7 days of shooting for Action Figure Adventure season 2 in the middle of that, plus other stuff that kind of came out of nowhere, it became a lot to handle. So it's really cool to finally be at this point in the Jay and Rob Toy Show journey for season 2, just because it's been a lot of work in the last month and a half, 2 months for sure. What's up, Nathan? He's saying woohoo indeed. Nathan says, what's a guy like you doing on a channel like this? Well, isn't that the question? What is a guy like me doing on a channel like this? I'm just sitting here talking toys, talking projects. That's what we do. Thanks for tuning in, brother. Hope you're doing well. Cheers. Just coffee, I promise. So yeah, we have our premiere for the Jay and Rob Toy Show, which is set for November 10th, Wednesday, November 10th, 7:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on Jinx Esports TV Canada. I love the time slot. I'm so pumped by the 7:30 p.m. time slot. It's that perfect start your night off with a little bit of TV and then see where it goes. we got super lucky with that time slot. I'm very happy and appreciative that Dan at Jinx was able to do that for us. I think it's a similar slot that Action Figure Adventure was in as well when it premiered last year in December, I think, or was it November or December? Late last year, Action Figure Adventure premiered. A lot has happened since then, so I apologize. Yeah, so it's a good time slot, and given how long it takes to do the Jay and Rob Toy Show as the TV version, we've already definitely started talking about what season 3 could be, what those segments might be like, topic ideas. And again, super exciting. So season 1, we looked at really broad stroke stuff like vehicles and collecting the same and collecting rules, female action figures. And season 2, I think it's a little bit more less broad stroke and more specific, but at the same time more topics too. We have, I think, 3, maybe 4 episodes where there's multiple topics, whereas season 1, every episode was a single topic. And I think there's a couple grab bag episodes in season 2 where we kind of jump around a bit. So I think like episode 4 is what if, for example. So we pose different what if scenarios, and while it's a broad catching term, you can see that we hop around within that, and that's a good vehicle to talk about a bunch of different things within that scope. We also just do a straight up grab bag where none of the topics really connect, but it gets us moving and covering a lot of territory as well. And then I think the last kind of multi-topic episode is kind of the how and why of action figures. Why did things turn out the way they did, or how was something so successful? And that episode, we jump not just from toys, but we also look at toy stores and what they do specifically. I think one of my favorite episodes of season 2 is the premiere episode, and that is looking at Marvel action figures versus DC action figures and kind of who got the better shake across action figure history so far. Looking at Mego's World Greatest Heroes line, and then, of course, through the 80s, the superpowers versus the Secret Wars stuff, Toy Biz's play with both DC and Marvel, and then Kenner with the Batman license, and so on and so forth. So it was cool to really dig into that history and then compare and contrast both brands and unique kind of hand that they got dealt as the times change. And there's a really cool evolutionary trend for both, because you can see where different movies come out and how they propel different components of each line and each brand, and how DC really focused on Batman for a long time because there wasn't too much else out there in the public eye to wrap toy merchandise around. So, but Marvel did some really cool things too. So that's one of my favorite episodes for sure, the first one. And these episodes, in the order that we put them in, they're somewhat arbitrary. It's not like you got to watch episode 1 first. In this case, I highly recommend watching episode 1 first because it is one of our favorites. The only thing we ever do by design for the Jay and Rob Toy Show is make sure that the last episode, or episodes, in the case of both season 1 and season 2, are line specific spotlights. So at the end of season 1, we did a 2-episode spotlight on Star Wars figures. We split it up into the vintage Kenner stuff, basically 78 to 85, more or less. And then we did another episode, 95 till now. And when I write these episodes and I come up with all the different talking points, all the different questions and scopes that we can discuss, it's never really planned. I don't know how it's going to go. And a lot of the talking points get lost, and Jay doesn't know any of them in advance. And I don't really make up my mind in advance either. I kind of just put so for Star Wars, for example, it would be, wave 1, wave 2, play sets, vehicles. And then we just talk and we feed off each other, just talking about it, what works, what doesn't work, and our opinions with the toy line. And it's so organic. It's awesome. The only way that would be better is, of course, if we were in the same room with one another. COVID protocols, remote production, and all that force us to be separate. But I still think it works really, really well. And it's just fun. And the challenging part about doing organic conversation for a TV show especially coming from a chat-based podcast format, is how do you cut that down to 22 minutes? So there's so much stuff in all the episodes that we record that just doesn't get used. Of course, we hang on to it, and we have a Patreon page for the Jay and Rob Toy Show specifically, and I think for season 1 we made some stuff available for them to check out, and season 2 there's tons of stuff as well. Probably more longer conversations for the season 2 topics than we got for season 1. Some of the stuff was really easy to cut out in season 2. Like, I think I had a what if scenario in season 2 for that episode. I think episode 4, where I was like, Jay, what if you discovered that your toys contained a noxious gas and were capable of killing you? Would you keep them, or would you get rid of your collection? Like, just something so stupid. But again, I'm writing down different ideas, right? Just to generate conversation, just to see what can come of it. And so that whole topic, and we talked for 5 or 10 minutes about the environmental impact of toys. That thread got lost. There's a bit of a callback in the episode that works as a non sequitur, but that's in there. The magic of the Jay and Rob Toy Show compared to some of the other stuff we do is that there's so much of us involved in it, our friendship and our playtime memories, that it's a lot more than just, this is what I think about this toy and this is what I think about that toy. No, your toy thoughts are wrong and my toy thoughts are right. We play up those stereotypes for sure because we think they're kind of ridiculous. But at the same time, it's all about a general love and mutual respect for one another. And there are certainly times in season 2 where Jay totally gets me, and a few times where I totally get him. But it's all fun, and that's what I think we really want to bring to the toy community, if you will, like that sense of fun, because so much of it is taken so seriously. It's like, aren't toys supposed to be fun? Remember when playtime was fun? So maybe we should try to get back to that. And it's just kind of who Jay and I are at our core. And the Jay and Rob Toy Show, both TV episodes for sure. And if you've watched our live stream, you know that comes a part of that as well. So that's probably one of the aspects I love the most about it. The production is slick. There's cool cutaways. All the figure photography is really nice, but that sense of fun, no gatekeeping, and the open-endedness that we like to imbue upon the topic, so that if you're watching, I hope that everybody feels safe to have their own opinion, even when Jay and I disagree. And we do draw lines in the sand, like, I firmly believe this about this figure, or this kind of trend, or this line is this, or whatever. Hopefully it invites you to participate from the couch or from your smartphone or computer to say, I don't know, I kind of like this, or I kind of like this, or find your own kind of middle ground, because I think that's important. We got Retro Universe Toys and Collectibles chiming in now. Because what is this fun you speak of? I don't know. I don't know what this fun is. I imagine that toys can be fun. Talking toys can be fun. Playtime can be fun. I guess that's one of the things I have the most fun doing is the playtime. What is playtime nowadays for us as adults? I mean, I've got 2 kids, so I can literally, pew pew pow pow with my kids. Never just on my own. I don't do that at all. Okay, well, maybe a little bit, but that these new ways that we find to play as grown-ups is a pretty cool thing. Whether it's like setting up your collection and your display, or your backdrops. Like, it's useless right now for me to set up my backdrop because it's all out of focus. So I just spent tons of time doing that before I went live for no reason at all. When it comes to the TV shows, the talking is fun and the recording is fun. There's a stress element to it because, of course, it's work too, but it's fun. I love doing the figure photography, setting up the camera on the slider, shooting in slow motion with smoke and atmospheric lighting and decor and set backdrops and figures positioned, and not just necessarily like doing a lineup of figures where they're all kind of just spread out left to right. Sometimes that's important for the talking point, but I like to be able to tell a story. So when we talk about season 2, we do a double shot of Masters of the Universe at the end. I think episode 1 looks at the vintage release, the 2002 line, and then the classics. And then the second episode looks at the He-Man line, the new adventures, Stactions, the commemorative stuff. There's some info on Mondo, Origins, and Masterverse. And there's a shot that I did with the Origins figures, He-Man and Skeletor. And because they're so posable, and we're talking about the posability, I have like Skeletor basically as if he's being knocked down, and he's looking over his shoulder at He-Man, and his sword has been knocked out of his hand, and He-Man's just got the axe over his head ready to come right down. I love stuff like that because it's a story moment, but it also caters to what we're talking about within the segment too. So it's fun. Nathan's chiming in here again. He says, I had some He-Man playtime a few weeks ago. It got dark real fast. My innocence is gone. Wow. You're the He Spud, Mr. Tater. That's what you are. You're the He Spud. So the Jay and Rob Toy Show season 2 is coming at you. Like I said, November 10th, 7:30 p.m. Jinx Esports TV. 10 episodes. 1 episode per week is coming, which will bring you through Christmas. Again, big shout out to the people that helped make this possible. He-Man.org, 3D Joes, Cybertron.com, Electrified Porcupine, Scout Wad. All of these people help contribute imagery. So when we want to cut away to an image, we use a lot of stuff that they have provided and sign on board for. And they're super cool partners. So very thankful to that. So our stuff, in addition to them, make up the bulk of the imagery that you see to help illustrate our points under a fair use mechanism, if you will. And then, of course, all our special guests. So if you're unfamiliar with the format of the Jay and Rob Toy Show, it's any given toy topic. Jay and I dive into it, commercial break, and then the middle segment is usually an industry insight, or in this case, a toy room tour for season 2. This is a little bit different for season 1, but toy room tour or industry insight. And because we're still dealing with some COVID protocol stuff, we did some toy room tours remotely. So we had some pretty big collectors showcase their toy rooms, and we got them to film them themselves, and we made sure that they had some audio specs and in most instances covered so that it would hit broadcast standards. And it was really cool. Of course, it would have been awesome to be there and film these things. Season 3, hopefully we can make some of that stuff happen. We're planning other segments just in case, but it was cool to watch these people tour us around their toy rooms. People like Justice Curry, Motu Joe, Tracy and Jason from Tracy's Basement on YouTube. Just phenomenal collections. And there's other collections of stuff that we have filmed that we've saved for season 3 because we want to dole out some of the goodness that we have. And, some of it might make it into Action Figure Adventure as well. So let's quickly talk about Action Figure Adventure Season 2. Make sure you do subscribe to Jinx Esports TV in Canada. We are looking for international outlets right now for all of our American, UK, and Aussie friends to check out the Jay and Rob Toy Show, both Season 1 and Season 2. We may do a Vimeo release. We may look at going Amazon Prime ourselves outside of Canada. There's a few different options, and we are looking into it. But I don't want to take up a lot of time tonight. Just kind of like, hey, just so you know, kind of information session. So Action Figure Adventure Season 2. I mentioned it kind of was in the works before Jay and Rob Toy Show Season 2 happened. And we were all over the board with where we were going to film. We were going to go from London, Ontario, which is by Toronto, or Detroit, depending on your geography knowledge. And we were going to go to Vancouver and back, hitting all the stores, seeing what Jay could kind of round up for the auction all through Canada, because the border is still closed for Canadians, so we can't really go through the States. Not yet. It'll be open soon. Awesome. But then COVID numbers started rising, and it didn't seem practical or logical to make that happen. So we looked at other trips that we could do, and we've always wanted season 2 of AFA to be about kind of going coast to coast in a best case scenario. So we were going to go out west, come back, do a loop in Ontario, and then do a loop out east. Well, when we looked at the schedule of what that would look like, that would mean going out east in January or February, which is a little bit it's a little bit could be a little bit dangerous with the winter storms that they get out there, and I don't want to be stranded and dealing with winter conditions on top of COVID crap and all that. So we decided to kind of swap stuff around. Scott saying he needs to up his photography game. Well, you're doing great, Scott. Don't worry about it. Well, I love the images you sent. I touched them up in post for broadcast specs. Looks good, brother. Looks good. So yeah, we decided that instead of risking a trip to Halifax and back in the dead of winter and those famous potential East Coast storms, that maybe, just maybe, it would be better if we did our East Coast trip first in the summer, which is beautiful out east when you do that. Then do an Ontario loop in the winter, because at least we're not far from home if we run into weather issues. And then potentially do out west in the spring. Well, we started looking at it all and crunching the numbers, and it might just be the trip that we filmed to Halifax and back. And we got some amazing content, saw some incredible stores as well. And there was no shortage of cool toys to come across, and what I like to call hairy situations, where every collector knows what it's like. Do I get this? Do I not get this? And for Jay, it's a tough deal, because every decision he makes for Action Figure Adventure, it's not his collection, right? It's not like the dollies for his shelves. He's not worried about being a pro shelfer and taking a shelfie and sharing it with all his friends. He's worried about getting the coolest items that are going to attract the most attention in an auction environment. And there's a lot of Star Wars collectors, but does that mean you just get nothing but Star Wars items for an auction? G.I. Joe, Transformers, the big brands certainly help, but then there are those marquee pieces that transcend other brands out there. And so there's a lot of interesting things like that. And then there's stuff that came up that was like, wow, how do you pass up this thing, even though it's a little niche? How do you pass it up given the condition that you see this in? And so playing the collecting game and the auction game and asking the question, is it auction worthy, continued to come up. And it was a whirlwind 6 or 7 days that we took to go from some stores in Ontario out east and back. But we got some good stuff. And now I'm in the midst of just going through all the raw footage, pulling all the takes that work, and starting to craft this story once I see what all the pieces to the puzzle are. And I think that more than anything is going to dictate what other future trips happen. I've got a few other ideas that I want to employ as well for Action Figure Adventure Season 2. So only about halfway done shooting, I think, let alone all the post-production stuff. And right now, I think we're looking at a fourth quarter 2022 premiere for AFA Season 2. So you basically get the Jay and Rob Toy Show Season 2, 10 weeks for that, and then you'll hear nothing but us talking about Action Figure Adventure Season 2. Maybe we'll produce a third season of Jay and Rob Toy Show Season 3 in there en route. So this is why I'm trying to get as much work done as I can now on AFA Season 2 before we get in that situation again that we might be lucky enough to do a third season, since we can knock them out fairly well and fairly quickly for the Jay and Rob Toy Show. I'm going to leave you guys with that. Faking Filmation is going well too. We've got Tater, who's watching right now. He's been helping with his lovely wife Cindy shoot some remote interviews for us. We filmed with Patrick Scott Patterson not long ago. We filmed with Mike at Elm Street Toys in Texas, and we've got a few more interviews lined up. We've got some Canadian interviews that we need to schedule up as well. And the nice thing about all this content, Jay and Rob Toy Show, Action Figure Adventure, and Faking Filmation, most of the people that qualify for any one of the projects qualify for all three. So we're kind of doing like a triple dip, or at the very least a double dip on these interviews, which is making shooting, even if it's remote, awesome, because it's yielding so much footage. As far as stuff for Faking Filmation involving James, well, we're just itching to make plans to shoot his portion of the journey and what that looks like. I think in the coming weeks, now that I've delivered Season 2 of Jay and Rob Toy Show, it'll be a lot easier to focus on what that looks like and what we actually will film and plan to film. it's not as easy as it sounds. It's just like, well, James, how are you going to get your cartoon out there? I don't know. Just follow me with a camera and we'll see what sticks. We got to plan some events. I've got some ideas. He's got some ideas. And we just got to basically start the journey and see what's working and what's not working for James, I think. And like Jay, with Action Figure Adventure, James has got to make all these decisions kind of on his own. I'll be a sounding board as a friend, suggesting different ideas, helping him where I can, but it's his journey. And Mr. Etok has got to do all this kind of on his own because it's his, his cartoon, the collective effort of the Return of Faker. He's spearheading the push to get it out there. So I will probably watch biting my tongue as he makes some certain decisions, but he's got to follow his heart. And who am I to say what's right or wrong? I think that's one of the things I love about making the kind of films and series that I make. I feel very much like an audience member, and I try to translate that to the product that you guys see, where it's like you're on the edge of your seat wondering what choice is going to be made. That's how I am with the camera or following my camera operators, trying not to influence the decision that happens, waiting for a decision to be made, especially in the case of Jay. Once Jay makes a decision, then he can have that decision, and I will kind of play devil's advocate all the time, and I'll do the same thing to James. But just waiting for those decisions to get made and then seeing where it goes. That's the best part. That's when you're along for the ride. So thanks for checking this out. It's always unscheduled, unannounced, but I thought I'd just take a few minutes instead of just slogging through some footage. Just want to drop in and say, hey, yeah, hopefully more of this. So take care, everyone. Cheers to a good evening, and we'll see y'all soon. Take care. Bye.